I walked the green hills of Earth. Not in my own body, of course. That would be extremely fatal, extremely quickly. If I were to be exposed to 1/8 of the horrific radiation bathing that planet on a daily basis, my brain would melt and then explode, my blood would boil and explode, and my outer integument would just plain explode once it was exposed to ambient dihydrogen monoxide, or what the humans call water. Such an innocuous name for a deadly thing. They call it ice when it's below its melting point, and steam when it boils. Yes, that's correct. They actually named it for each of its states. Worse, a good deal of their industrial development was powered by using the high-temperature vapor as a means of transferring energy from one system to another. If I were understanding things correctly, some of their machines still made use of it, due to its extreme utility. Machines that also incorporated forbidden material to generate the energy in the first place. It was almost a relief to find out that getting within death range of forbidden material was also dangerous to them. It wouldn't make them explode, or even kill them instantly, except in the case of extreme exposures, but it had the chance of making them ill. The worst cases might die in 5 or 10 years. Oh, the horror. Yes, humans use sarcasm too. I was very pleased to find that out. It's just one more thing that makes me glad I was on duty that day on the distant knowledge. Ensign Serena Hernandez strolled alongside me. We'd made sure that the relative measurements matched up. The telepresence body I was controlling came to about elbow level on her. I had 4 locomotion tentacles for movement while I used the other 4 to gesture at our surroundings. And I had so much to gesture at. I had to give full credit to the humans. When they set about building a telepresence body for me, they spared no expense. My tentacles had the full range of sensory motivation and manipulation capability. The sensors that matched up with my eyes and auditory receptors were attuned to human-specific levels of sight and hearing, and my vocal apparatus was similarly set up to produce sounds that humans could hear. But the most amazing technology was the actual signal linkage. You understand, none of our species will ever be capable of venturing within the orbit of the planet they call Jupiter, which we call red spot for obvious reasons, unless we collaborate on the creation of much more robust shielding systems than we've already got. I understand they're working on it, but they're not there yet. However, there's a few planets on the far outer range of their system that are more or less perfect for research stations. With their help, we've set some up, and there's talk of setting up a colony or 2. The humans seem utterly charmed by the idea, so all that's left is the engineering. All we really have to do is wear heat-reflecting suits on the surface when the planet, or the moon depending, is facing the primary, and we're comfortable. And that's where the broadcast station for the telepresence unit is situated. Which leaves just one problem. The speed of light. Or rather, how slow it is when you're trying to send a signal from the edge of the human's own solar system into Earth and get back an answer within a reasonable time frame. When one message in and back out again can take up the entire working day, that's not exactly a great situation. The first few instances of the telepresence suits were tested out in and around the Pluto system. When I found out that name represents an ancient deity of the frozen underworld, I laughed so hard. Oh, laughter is another thing humans share with us too. Their version sounds weird, but I suppose ours sounds weird to them too. The humans had theirs in a ship orbiting the Pluto-Charon system, while we were in a lab dug into the surface. We were close enough to one another that the light speed lag wasn't really a problem, but there's only so much cultural exchange one can do when you are walking around the corridors of a human spaceship. Still, extremely interesting, especially their astrogation equipment, or a freshly built research laboratory. But then, the scientists came to the rescue. It turned out that another ship was orbiting Triton, the largest moon of the gas giant called Neptune. Both those names have links to the oceans of water that flood their planet. Remember that stuff? Molten dihydrogen monoxide? Yeah, that. Those are names of deities connected to their oceans. Thankfully, there's no liquid water out that way. It's all ice, which is the way I like it. The human scientists were running telepresence rigs in the lab, working hand in tentacle with our people, and the ideas were flowing thick and fast. They took apart an FTL drive. Don T asked me how those things work, and somehow turned it inside out, using some human-specific materials to stabilize it. After that, it didn't go anywhere, but it could pulse out a signal that was receivable up to a light year away. We checked, with delay that was less than the margin of error on the instruments they were using. So that's how we got faster-than-light information transmission. It took them all of 3 seconds to figure out how to cut a couple of these in on the telepresence circuit. And that is how I ended up walking my human-built remote body over a series of gentle hills on far distant Earth, while sitting comfortably in a lab buried in the North Pole of Pluto. Light-speed lag can bite my upper left tentacle. It turned out that Serena and I had been more or less tapped to be the unofficial ambassadors for our respective species, at least until they could work out how to establish official embassies. As such, our job descriptions had literally been rewritten to spend time each day comparing notes and getting used to each other's culture. Frankly, the more time I spent with her and the more of our respective languages got ironed out in the translators, the less alien she seemed. Well, apart from being the equivalent of a walking, talking apocalypse event, I mean. The thermal and potential chemical energy contained in one human's body, if released all at once, would destroy the entire laboratory and kill everyone in it. Which was why the humans very carefully didn't even aim a radar beam at us. But all that aside, I liked her. She even went so far as to apologize for the name she had given our species, based on the appearance of the distant knowledge. Once I understood the terminology, I had to admit the name was somewhat apropos. Soap bubbles were supposed to be ephemeral and ridiculously easy to destroy. They were also rather pretty, as I saw when she produced a simple apparatus that created them with a puff of breath. Our entire species were even more fragile to humans than soap bubbles. Those could at least survive for tens of seconds unprotected in that ghastly environment, so I really couldn't argue with the name as given. It didn't stop me from joking about what we should call humans, hell demons, lava monsters, or the like. Serena thought each new name was funnier than the last, which was the whole point of the list. The hillside we were on sloped down to a placid lake, reflecting the blue of the sky. I eyed it askance, reminded once more that the temperature that my telepresence link transmitted to me as pleasantly warm was significantly higher than the melting point of ice. Why, yes, we have indeed appropriated that word. And that there was gaseous state oxygen in the atmosphere all around me. More than a little frightening, if I'd let myself think too deeply about it. The ground beneath my tentacles was covered with tiny soft blades of green. I'd been told this was grass, a wild-growing sessile life form that absorbed sunlight for sustenance. Given that this sun was throwing strong enough light to cast a very distinct shadow, I decided that it had made a wise choice in its evolutionary past. Our biologists would have entire new fields of study to play with once the information I was garnering made it to them. The sheer range of temperatures on Earth, all well above anything remotely survivable for us, of course, meant that they similarly had a huge range of life-supporting biomes. "What are you thinking?" Serena asked idly, lowering herself to a seated position. I adjusted my locomotion tentacles to assume roughly the same attitude. I was thinking how pretty the lake is and how all this fits in so well here on Earth. She knew me well enough by now to finish the thought. "But not where you come from." "Progenitors, no." I shuddered at the notion. That much molten dihydrogen monoxide being placed there all at once? It would be like someone dropped a bomb. A large bomb. We didn't do bombs, or war in general. In the Concordat, our species had a well-earned reputation as pacifists and scientists. She sounded amused. Dangerous landscape? She tilted her head. "So, how'd your big brains like the samples of Invar we sent over?" "An odd metal," I said. "If I'm understanding what they told me, it undergoes barely any thermal expansion or shrinkage. Also, it's magnetic, which is useful." "What's it made of again?" "Copper and iron, as far as I know." She took a clear bottle from a clip on her belt and drank from it. Water, of course. I had to remind myself that it was below her body temperature, and that she needed it for survival. It was a strange, strange universe. We've had it for a couple of centuries now. They used to use it to make clocks. I can see why. And I could too. With the massive temperature range on Earth, metal expansion or contraction would be a distinct engineering problem in some situations. We could never create something like that ourselves. While we can just barely work copper, iron is far beyond our reach. But yes, they are fascinated by it. With it, there are new ideas cropping up all the time. Our joint ventures are proving extremely worthwhile on both sides of the table.